Coast could be affected by heavy flooding. Forecasters say Harvey is gaining strength and will likely be a Category 3 storm by the time it makes landfall in southeast Texas late tomorrow or early Saturday. White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders is responding to Senator Bob Corker's recent critiques of President Trump.
That's a ridiculous and outrageous claim and doesn't dignify a response from this podium.
The Tennessee Republican denounced the president in the wake of the violence in Charlottesville, saying he had not yet demonstrated the stability or competence to be successful and that he did not understand the character of this nation. One person is dead and a gunman is in critical condition after a restaurant shooting in downtown Charleston, South Carolina. Police shot and wounded the gunman, who was described as a disgruntled employee after he took hostages today. The Massachusetts winner of the second largest lottery jackpot in U.S. history is retiring.
The first thing I want to do is I just want to sit back and relax. And I had a pipe dream, and my pipe dream has finally come true. I wanted to retire in 12, and it came early.
Mavis Wanzik bought the winning Powerball ticket worth $758 million. Amazon is slashing prices at Whole Foods. The lower prices at the health food store will start on Monday on a selection of best-selling grocery staples. Monday's also when the online retailer's acquisition of the grocery chain will close. MTV wants transgender troops to attend the Video Music Awards and has filed a request to the Pentagon to make it happen. The invitation follows President Trump's announcement of a ban on transgender people in the military. You are listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
From the KCAA Weather Center, I'm Rod Tanner. For tonight, it'll be clear, high low 65. We'll have a sunny Friday with a high of 88. Friday night, it'll be clear with a low of 68. We'll begin the weekend Saturday with a sunny, hot day with a high of 101. Saturday night, it'll be clear with a low of 69. It'll be sunny, even warmer Sunday with a high of 105. Sunday night, it'll be clear with a low of 72. We'll have a sunny, hot Monday with a high of 107. Again tonight, it'll be clear with a low of 65. That's your weather forecast for this hour from KCAA, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM, 3-in-1 the trifecta of talk in Southern California.
This is Dick from Carpet Masters. Carpet Masters has been serving the Inland Empire for over 60 years. We are locally owned and operated by the Stevens family. We not only clean carpet and furniture, we clean many loose rugs, including Oriental rugs. Oriental rugs are cleaned in our modern facility where the fringes are cleaned by hand, then hung in our modern facility to dry. We do not use steam cleaning to clean your fine furniture. Furniture is cleaned by hand using the same absorption cleaning used in the White House. Some furniture we bring into our plant to clean properly. We normally use 2 men on each cleaning job using the extraction method. There is nothing that would clean carpet better for our customers. Our job is to clean properly with quality first. Google Carpet Masters San Bernardino and give us a call, or go to carpetmasterssocal.com.
The other stations claim to be local.
Yeah, right.
KCAA Radio, the only true local radio station on your radio dial.
Hey, buddy, I heard the drought's moving in, muscling in on your turf. To make matters worse, the man keeps telling you to limit your spigot. That drought is bad news, no fooling. But me and my boys can help. The Water Boys, on the Water Zone, Thursday nights at 6. We'll help you protect your turf and save water. And hey, don't worry about it. Consider it a gift.
Yeah, Louie, you heard the boss. We gotta listen in at 6 p.m. on Thursday nights.
Okay, Vinny, you got it. The Water Zone, Thursday nights at 6 p.m. I'll tell our lawn it's now protected.
Live from the NBC News Radio broadcasting studios of KCAA, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM, located in beautiful sunny California. Thanks for tuning into the Water Zone today. Good afternoon. I'm Rob Starr, along with Mr. Mike Barron, also known around here as Mikeypedia, and together we're collectively known as the Water Boys. Well, today is actually our Ag Week show, and we have Mr. Paul McFadden from our micro irrigation group on with us today. Miss Ingy Bisconer is at a offsite meeting, so she will not be in today, but Mike and I will try to rescue the empty spot. So, Paul, how are you doing tonight?
Great, Rob. Thank you. How are you?
Pretty good. Hey, I hear we have a budding actress is going to be a guest.
That's true. That's true.
I've been reading up. I've been reading up on her. So I'll turn it over to you for right now, and go for it.
Great. Thank you. Our first guest this evening is Beth Mercurio. Beth, are you on the line? Hello, Beth?
Nah, she didn't. I don't think she's in. Nope. We'll give her a few more minutes to call in. Anyway, just so people know, if they do want to call in and talk to us, and while we're waiting, the phone number is 909-792-5222, or you can call 909-792-1050. And a good thing, if people want to watch us and see us live and in color, they can go to www.kcaaradio.com, or they can go to Ustream. And something new and exciting, you can now catch us on iHeartRadio. So we're very happy about all of that, and we're streaming up those things, and we're very excited. So, Paul, what's new in the MIB business while we're waiting to get our guest on? She may be having a little difficulty calling in, but hopefully she'll call in a minute.
She was traveling back from a conference in Las Vegas and was supposed to be in this evening and plenty of time for the show, so hopefully everything's okay.
Okay.
This week's show is about community and school gardens, and Beth has been a director of a community garden in the area, the town of Escondido, for about 25 years. It's quite an extensive
it's pretty
garden.
big. It's pretty big from what I hear.
It's 140 plots, and there's literally folks from all over the world that participate in the garden. I had the pleasure of being there a few times. My wife is actually on the board of directors and participated there for that entire time, pretty much. And when you go into these events, they have big potlucks, and there's very interesting. There's foods from all over the world. There's different cultures, obviously, and different languages. Some folks speak little or no English as their first language, and so it's very interesting, very fun.
Wow. You know, we're the Toro Companies had a contest going, and there's a school called the I just went blank on it, but it's in the city of Paris. Oh, it's Meade Elementary School, and we're going to be donating a community garden to them and give them some education information as well. And we're doing that with our partners from Scott, so it's going to be pretty good. Our studio engineer Carlos is out here. Oh, okay. Actually, we have your next guest actually wants to call and chime in if we can. Ryan.
Perfect.
So we bring him on, and Ryan, good afternoon, and welcome to the Water Zone.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
And you're a lifesaver.
Thank you, Ryan. We hope Beth is okay. She's traveling today, and we hope she's safe and sound, and I hope she can get to the phone soon. But in the meantime, let me introduce Ryan to our listening audience. Ryan Zilker is the marketing director for Western Growers in Irvine, California, right there in Orange County. His role is responsible for the development and management of the marketing strategy for Western Growers Association and its affiliate subsidiaries, including Western Growers Foundation. Now, the foundation is, we'll let Ryan describe it a little bit more, but that's where the gardens really lie that Western Growers Foundation supports. Ryan spent his first 18 years in a career working marketing and in market research for nonprofit banking industry. Moved to Western Growers early in 2016 as enjoying a steep learning curve in the ag industry. a native of Southern California. Ryan graduated from UC Irvine with a Bachelor of Science in Applied Ecology. Also holds a master's degree in Business Administration from Cal State Fullerton. Ryan lives in Tustin, where I once lived as a youngster with his family and 2 dogs. He enjoys traveling, cooking, eating. Of course, if you like to cook, you like to eat. And do-it-yourself home improvement projects. Ryan, welcome to the Water Zone.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
You like the DIY home improvement projects?
Well, I'm not very good at it, but YouTube has become my my go-to resource, and I'm continuing to try to learn.
Oh, I was going to invite you over to do some cooking and do some improvements that I don't want to do.
As long as it's not drywall.
Oh,
drywall
okay.
That's rough.
Brian, you've got quite an interesting background. Tell us a little bit bit more in depth about your background and how you ended up in the ag industry of all places.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, Paul, I spent the first 18 years of my career working in marketing and market research in nonprofit banking, so in credit unions. So my last post before joining Western Growers was at a not-for-profit cooperative whose sole purpose was to help credit unions compete and win. So when I got the call from actually a former credit union colleague who now works here at Western Growers about the opportunity to head up the marketing department, I was intrigued. Because Western Growers, like where I came from, it's mission-driven, it's member-owned. It's a trade association whose sole purpose is to help enhance the competitiveness and profitability of its members. So functionally, it felt like a familiar role, but it was in an entirely different industry. So like you said in my bio, it has been a steep learning curve for me to learn the ag industry. But one of the highlights of my job is being able to work with Western Growers Foundation.
Tell us a little bit more about the foundation and really, if you would, how the school garden program and the community garden program rolls up into the foundation.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So the foundation was started back in '96 by some of the leaders of Western Growers. And it was initially a way to bring the edible school garden to schools throughout our member states, which are California and Arizona. So the focus then was really on encouraging healthy eating habits among school-age kids. And the tagline that the foundation used for years was, if they grow it, they'll eat it. We found that to be very true. So in recent years, the foundation's mission has kind of grown and evolved, and it's become more about ensuring a sustainable future for the fresh produce industry. And we actually have kind of like a four-pronged approach. So if you'll indulge me, I'll kind of go through those real quick.
Sure.
The first one is teaching kids about food and farming, hoping to attract the next generation of agricultural professionals. So that's taking our outreach from just the K through 12 schools up into the college-age students. And then the foundation is also committed to nurturing innovative and technological advancements that help solve some of the toughest farming challenges. And then finally, we have an arm that focuses on communicating economic opportunities and the respect that defines the relationships between the farmers and the people who work on the farms. So it's really like a multi-tiered approach. But knowing that we're here to talk about the school garden specifically, that being the longest tenured arm of the foundation, I thought maybe I could go into a little more detail about that.
Please.
So I mentioned it was established in '96, and the edible school garden program was the original mission, and it was really an opportunity to provide school-age kids with the venue to learn about farming and nutrition and healthy eating. So after we funded more than 1,000 school gardens across California and Arizona, the foundation's school garden program is also evolving, and it's not so much just about the healthy eating and learning about farming, but we've seen a renewed focus on the STEM curriculum, so science, technology, engineering, and math. That's become a big focus of schools and education. And we saw an opportunity to bring in the school garden as a kind of a piece to help perpetuate that STEM curriculum. And what we've been trying to do is figure out how we can use the school garden to nurture the natural curiosity of children in all the areas related to farming and agriculture. So we've kind of revised our motto, and this is just kind of our operating motto right now, and that's from classroom to career. And it's that we really want to nurture these kids' curiosity from grade school through high school up into college, and ultimately place them in positions with local farmers. So we found that through these gardens, kind of guided lesson plans, hands-on learning in the gardens, the students are learning things about the science of how seeds eventually become salads. We've taught them about the technology available to enhance how plants grow. We've talked about the engineering behind farm equipment, and then the math used to calculate how much water is needed for optimal yield. So we're really tying into the STEM curriculum with real hands-on learning.
Oh, that's outstanding. So in reading through the information that you provide on your website, which we'll get to at the end of this discussion, I noticed that there's some very important benefits to the students in not learning the STEM, but the health and the ability to learn and the willingness to learn. Could you maybe talk about that a little bit, please?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of benefits come out of the Edible School Garden program. One of our newer focuses is getting more school gardens into food deserts in the real urban parts of our states. So in some cases, we're finding that the school garden might be a student's unique exposure to fresh fruits and vegetables. And the kids are getting really excited about growing something that they can eat. I was at one of our school gardens just a couple months ago, and it was so much fun to see these kids pull these carrots out of the ground, wipe them off on their pants, and just take a bite out of it. And they were so excited to be eating the stuff that they grew. So we see a lot of excitement around it. Not only do they love being able to eat the product of their labor, but through the curriculum, they're starting to understand the science of how these things are grown and get excited about it. And that's what excites us, is seeing these kids just their faces light up when they talk about the garden. The hands-on learning is really powerful. And then beyond the students, I hear from teachers all the time that the school gardens have become a gathering place for kids throughout the school. Not only the students who are in the school garden program, but kids throughout the school. They gather around the gardens. They check them out to see what's growing, how things have grown, how they've changed. And there's this implicit respect that the students exhibit for the gardens. And there's a universal excitement to see the results. So it's really neat to see the power of the garden at the school. And beyond that, these gardens become community gathering places. One of the schools actually right near my house, they have community volunteer days where neighbors come out to help plant the gardens. They have people building raised garden boxes, moving plants, taking up dirt, weeding. So they get the community involved. And this school in particular, actually, they do a monthly farmers market where they actually sell the product the kids grow. They sell it to the community. So it really is just a full circle program that gets everybody really, really jazzed.
Can I ask what grades you cover with the schools?
Yeah, so technically it's grades K through 12.
Okay.
But we tend to see it in the elementary. It's the most popular in the elementary. So that's usually K through 4, K through 5. That's generally where we're seeing it seeing the most adoption. Future looking, we want to get more into the high schools for the career technical education opportunities. We're starting to explore some options there right now. But I think the high schools would be a kind of bridge for us to get into the universities eventually as well.
So that you can then teach them about uniformity distribution and controllers and evapotranspiration, the technology to help them grow the vegetables and such.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Ryan, how long has the Western Growers Foundation been involved in this program, and how did it come into existence?
Yeah, so the school garden program started when the foundation was founded in '96, and it's kind of gone through a number of iterations. Originally, it was actually funded by block grants through the states, through California and Arizona, and through the block grants, we were able to provide the monies to the schools that were tied directly to education and nutrition. So the block grants have changed a bit, and we have shifted the foundation to a private funding model. So with that allows us a little more leeway on subjects that we focus on and on our mission, which we like, but it presents an entirely new set of challenges as far as funding goes.
Sure. Where are all these gardens located? If you can kind of give our listeners a summary of not just schools, but learning centers or community centers, or where, and then geographically, what is the reach of the school garden program?
Yeah, so all of the school garden programs are in actual schools, and it's throughout California and Arizona. So if you look at a map of the states, they really are just kind of speckled throughout. In some of the denser population areas, of course, in some of the more heavily ag-centric communities as well. But really, they're sprinkled throughout. And I'll make a plug for our website now. It's a bit of a long URL, but it's all one word: westerngrowersfoundation.org. And on that website, we actually have a list of all of the schools that have gardens that are funded by our grants.
Well, and I think it would be important to share with our listeners, if they're interested, or if there are educators out there now that are thinking about a school garden and want more information, you can go to that website and apply for some help, an irrigation kit supplied by the Toro Company, or some funds for seed, a syllabus. There's tons of resources there. So I think absolutely, if anyone's interested throughout the state, that would be a great place to start.
Yeah, that's a great point, Paul. Thank you. We are actually getting ready to launch our next round of grant applications early next month. So we will be opening up our new application process, and we've got a block of grant money that we are hoping to get into the school's hands over the next couple of months. So the timing of this phone call is perfect. We really want to get the word out, get the applications in, and the application link will be published on that website I just gave, as well as on all of our social media channels. So we are on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Just look for Western Growers Foundation and follow us, and you'll get updates on when our applications open up.
Do you have any partners in the program with you to do these school community gardens?
That's a great question. Yeah, and it really is. It's all about our partners, right? So Paul mentioned the irrigation kits that are generously donated by Toro. We like to include those for all grants that are awarded. It's a wonderful kit to help the gardens get irrigated. Additionally, our friends over at Scott's Miracle Grow just donated us some supplements that we will also be including with our grants. So those are two of our partners that come to mind. We have countless other partners who participate in the form of donations and just general support for the program. So there are partners throughout. And I would point out that I'll tell you how one of the teachers I met put it. She said, for a school garden to be a success, you need three things: shade, water, and storage. And so our grants help the school gardens get there, but it's not enough to do all that. So I can tell you that I've seen at the schools too, they have great partnerships in their communities. Local farmers show up to help out, provide donations of time, materials, resources. Lowe's has been tremendously supportive of the school garden programs. And then those who support financially and with product donations. So it really is an all-in community effort to get these gardens up and running.
Is it hard, for example, in some of these areas, I know on school properties, the one that we were going to do or coming up, there's no electricity out in the areas. Mm-hmm. So you have the same thing. So you look towards solar devices and things to make that happen, or
that's exactly it. I can actually think of one school in particular in Laguna Beach, California. They had that very problem. The school facilities gave them a patch of land kind of out in the corner of the soccer field, no electricity, and the teacher who runs the program actually had a connection with the engineering program at the local high school. And so the local high school kids did a solar panel project. They built the solar panel as part of their project, and that now powers the school garden. So it was just a really kind of cool serendipitous solution, but just an example of the innovation that we have to see to make these things work, and the solar options.
Well, do you think? Sorry for asking questions, Paul. It's really interesting listening to this. With the aspect of climate change going around, do you think that's adding to diminishing the farming industry at all, at least in California and Arizona, or do you think with new science and technology, it's going to help try to expand it from what it is today? Because I mean, California is pretty powerful in the produce market.
Huge, yeah.
And I particularly don't want to see it go away. I know some legislators are talking about that, but how do you see that coming down the road?
Yeah, that is a that is a loaded question, a little outside of my patch, but I'll take a stab here. So what we're seeing is that as a result of changes that are happening in the environment, there's legislation coming trying to protect the environment. That legislation is making it more and more difficult for farmers to operate in California. So we are seeing tremendous innovation to try to work around those legislative actions, innovation to try to have less of an impact on the environment. So I have seen some of the most resilient, inventive people of my life in the farming industry, and I feel like there is a commitment to try to make it work here as much as we can, while working with legislators and trying to continue to protect the environment, because it's funny. It's oftentimes in the media you might hear farmers pitted against environmental issues, but really, if you think about it, the farmers are the quintessential environmentalists, because they need a healthy earth in order to make a living, to feed the world. So it is it's quite a sticky wicket, I think. But I don't see California farming going away anytime soon. But it's going to take a lot of work on the innovation side and on the legislative side.
Right.
With respect,
I also think that having over 1,000 school gardens that the Western Growers Foundation has going, and where over 90% of them continue year over year, we're teaching these students in these programs all the important things, like Ryan said, the STEM process or the STEM principles in education, which are going to make them, if they choose to go into farming, they're going to make them more efficient farmers in using the technology and the engineering and so forth, the science. They're learning from a very a young age through this program on how to be better stewards of those same resources. Would you not agree?
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, and it's interesting, Paul. When we interview some of the children, one of the common themes that comes out is the work that they're doing to protect the earth. So they see this as an environmental activism almost in the work that they're doing. So it's and yet it's spurring kind of an appreciation for all that goes into farming. So I really hope that in the efforts of the School Garden program that we are helping to preserve the ag industry in California and Arizona.
Excellent. Brian, in the minute or so we have left, any closing thoughts, and how can folks get more information on the Western Growers Foundation once again, if you would, please?
Yeah, thanks. So again, we've got some our new grants or applications are going to open up early next month, and please share that wide and tell everybody, shout it from the mountaintops. We really want to get a lot of applications in. Best way to do it is either at our website, westerngrowersfoundation.org, or on social media. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Search for Western Growers Foundation. Follow us, and you'll see announcements of our grant application opening up, as well as we will announce grant winners and track progress of all of our grant winner gardens, all via social media. So should be good, and we've got a brand new website scheduled to come out in the next couple of months. So we're doing a lot to really get the word out.
Excellent. And any thoughts from you, Rob? Any closing thoughts?
Well, Mike also just joined. He was in the control room, but yeah, it's nice to hear about the guardians of the garden, and we got to come up with a good tagline. And Ryan, one of the things we can do, we've done this with a school out in Laguna as well. After we went and put some things in with the Wyland Foundation, we had them on the air and talking about it. Mike was asking questions. In fact, I'll let Mike tell the story real quick because it was pretty cute.
It was just remarkable how informed the students were, and kind of the excitement, that you mentioned, Ryan. These students that have the hands-on experience of seeing seeds under earth, sprout and grow and then become these vegetables that they can eat, really gives them an appreciation for what's going on with the growing of our food. And they were starting to explain photosynthesis. So, talk about a good learning experience. So I'm all for these school gardens. I think they're fantastic, and kudos to Western, to you guys for your foundation and for promoting this.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thanks for taking the time to spend with us, Brian. Keep up the good work, and please reach out to us if we can help. Thanks again, Rob.
Yep. All right, we're going to take a little break here from the Water Zone, and we'll be back with Paul McFadden and his budding actress friend. Actually, she's a great guest. So stick around, and we'll be back in a moment.
This is the Schmidt's Yard. Company's coming soon, and, oh, Schmidt, their deck and outdoor furniture's been dominated by dirt. But no worries, there's plenty of time for Scott's Outdoor Cleaner plus OxyClean to work its magic. Its fast-foaming action lifts dirt and wipes out stains from moss, mold, mildew, and algae. Guaranteed. All while being safe to use around plants and grass. Because when company's coming, dirt's not invited. This is a Scott's Yard. Pick up Scott's Outdoor Cleaner this weekend.
Are you looking for a place to buy your landscape and gardening items? Come visit us at Site One Landscape Supply. We offer a large and quality selection of irrigation, landscape, and outdoor living products such as Toros water-efficient precision nozzles. Site One Landscape Supply has over 30 locations right here in Southern California, and we are the largest national wholesale distributor of landscape supplies in the United States. Site One's knowledgeable and friendly staff is equipped to help you with all your landscape, irrigation, and outdoor living projects. Whether you're redoing your backyard into a drought-tolerant garden or creating a water-efficient landscape for your client, Site One has everything you need, including the latest in water-saving technologies, drought-tolerant plants for your yard, irrigation supplies, fertilizer and weed control products, landscape accessories, hardscape products, outdoor lighting, and much, much more. Visit SiteOne.com to find a store near you or stop by today. Site One. We are stronger together.
Hey, welcome back to the Water Zone on KCAA 1050 AM and all these other channels we got. We're building them up. Maybe we'll go syndicated someday. We'll go national. That would be fun.
Yeah, you better teach me how to turn on my mic first if you want to go national. So, no, it's great to be here, and thanks for carrying the load here.
Yeah,
I was busy.
Mr. Paul did a great job, and we're going to turn it back over to Paul with his next guest. I'm anxious to hear this, too.
Thank you, gentlemen. Yes, we finally got you. Beth?
Hello. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Beth. Sorry, we had a hard time connecting in the first half hour. I'm glad you were able to make it back from your trip safely, and you're on the line.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'm sorry, and thank you for your patience.
No. Worked out fine. You have to be adaptable in the world today, I think, and this is just one example of it.
Absolutely.
So,
we just needed your acting skills to tell us what to do to fill in when you weren't here.
Well, it sounds like you guys made it work.
We tried.
Yeah, it's fine. So let me introduce you, if I could, please. Beth Mercurio is the executive director for the Escondido Community Garden. She was born in Torrance and grew up in Hawthorne. She had a successful teaching career as first as a substitute teacher in various districts around North San Diego County from 77 to 83, and then went on to teach kindergarten in Escondido from 84 to 2010, where she actually initiated the first recycling program for the entire elementary school district. She's the founder and managing director of the Escondido Community Garden, which has been operating successfully since 1992. I think that's one of the oldest community gardens around. The garden, correct me if I'm incorrect on this, Beth, but you have about 140 plots. With,
114.
114, sorry.
Uh-huh.
With gardeners from around the world. We talked about a little bit about that in our intro. Beth has an AA degree from El Camino College, a BA degree in sociology from Cal State University Long Beach, and an elementary teaching credential from Cal State Long Beach. She and her husband Rick reside in Valley Center. They have 2 daughters and 3 granddaughters. This is going to come as a shock to you, Mike and Rob, but Beth enjoys gardening and acting and in local and community theaters, reading. She's traveled extensively all over the world and actually lived overseas. Maybe picked up some gardening tips from her travels. Camping and cooking. Please welcome Beth Mercurio to the Water Zone. Welcome, Beth.
Thank you very much.
Please tell us a little bit about your background. Growing up in Southern California, how did you end up in a community garden in Escondido for these past 25 years?
I think it was rather serendipitous. I grew up gardening with my dad was always a gardener, had a great green thumb, much greener than my own. But once I started teaching, and I was kind of known as, Mother Earth type, and I did some gardening with the kids at school, planted a lot of plants, and taught them a lot about life cycles. But I was driving one day and discovered City Heights had a magnificent garden. It's a different one than they have right now. Since then, Caltrans has taken it. Like that is what happens to so many of our community gardens. It's owned by city land or Caltrans, and they decide to take it back. So gardens don't usually last quite as long as ours. Knock on wood. Anyway, I discovered this beautiful garden, had never really thought about starting a community garden, just was intrigued by the way it looked. And they had a sign there, and I ended up calling and talking to the people that were running that and just decided to see if the city of Escondido would be interested. The city of Escondido has been extremely supportive. It was hard to get it going. I was setting a precedent. And so every step had to be figured out, and it took a couple of years to get it really going. And I think our first shovel in the ground was 2 years after I had made my initial inquiries. But it's been fantastic, and I'm only still doing it because I love it. And when you see the smile on people's faces out there, it makes it all worthwhile. So it was a long process, but we've definitely evolved over the years through the whole thing, and have grown absolutely. So
we've seen our previous earlier guest, Ryan Zilk Garden Growers Foundation. That group has put in 1,000 gardens, roughly, a little more actually, in Arizona and California, and they have been around about almost as long as you have with the Escondido Community Garden. But we're saying some of the benefits that they see with kids, students specifically, is their willingness and ability to learn is actually enhanced or enriched by this gardening process. Have you found that to be true as well?
It sure is, and especially when you're dealing with children from the inner city, because they don't get enough time outside, and there are so many gaps in their learning because of that. So if you can get them out there and you can hand them a seed and teach them how to plant it and take care of it, it teaches responsibility. Once again, it teaches the life cycles. It teaches a love for nature, and there's so many books and pieces of literature that you can tie in. You can tie it in with your science, and that's what teachers are finding. And there's so many more school gardens than there were when we first started, that's for sure. And community gardens, I think, when I first started in San Diego County, there were, as I recall, 16 to 20 gardens in the whole county, and now there's, I don't know how many, probably close to 100. I have no idea, but it's just boomed since then.
Everybody's looking literally over the fence at the wonderful work that you've done in Escondido, and have taken that back and planted that literally and figuratively in their own community. So nicely done.
Well, thank you. We're a pure, I call it a pure community garden, in that everybody's out there with their own little plot, and they're growing the food for themselves or for their family, whereas there's community gardens have become quite creative lately. There's the school gardens, there's gardens that are grown for a certain nonprofit. There's gardens grown where people are trading the food back and forth right away when it's grown. So ours is kind of the old-fashioned, get out there and plant and take care of your plot, type of gardening, which is great. But so are these others. There's a lot of different ways to run a community garden.
So for the listeners, let me just describe the area. There's 114 plots, as you mentioned earlier. Each one is about 4 feet by 20 feet in size. The garden itself, as a whole, has a storage shed, a covered cabana that you use to do potlucks and things, as we mentioned at the top of the hour, picnic tables. Of course, has a bathroom, weekly green waste removal, along with nighttime lighting. What are some of the things that we could add to that description? Maybe some of the challenges.
Well, sure, of course. We attempted composting, and we were really proud of ourselves when we first started. We were one of the only ones that was composting, and we felt really good about it, but it was overwhelming for us, unfortunately. There may be a better way to do it now, but when you have over an acre and you have that many plots out there, we were kind of drowning in it. So we tried a lot of different techniques. Our garden has been just so lucky from the very beginning, because we have master gardeners as well as several master composters out there. And these are people who are trained through the University of California. It's a master gardener program. They're trained, and then they go back and give back to the community through a certain number of hours a year. Well, originally I had 3 of those master gardeners working with me. They just happened to be in the area, and they were very interested in the garden. And I have 1 master composter, and she tried so hard to make this thing work, but it didn't end up working for us. So now we have the greens waste comes and picks it up. But we did get, through the city, we had an Eagle Scout project out there where they built a composting area. And this is an area where there can be demonstrations, and those happen about 3 or 4 times a year on a Saturday, free of charge for anyone. It's open to anyone in the city of Escondido and probably beyond, where they can come out for an hour and a half and learn about composting. So that was kind of the evolution of that, and I'm pleased to know that we're at least, educating people about composting if we're not able to actually do it ourselves at this point. But a lot of things evolve over the years. When you're dealing with that many people, you try new things. Some things work, some things don't. You gradually build up your bylaws, and it's a learning process, and it just keeps on rolling.
Growing. The operative phrase
Eagle
is
Scouts
keep
that are
growing.
out there have been the Eagle Scouts out there have been amazing. They have done probably at least a dozen projects for us, and that's been so helpful. It's mutually beneficial. They are part of the community, and it's great to bring them in. That was the goal from the very beginning, was to make this community garden reflect the community in as many ways as possible. And having Eagle Scouts out there, our kids that are attempting to get their Eagle Scout project done, work at our garden, whether it be building this composting area or a beautiful stone faucet for people to wash their vegetables, birdhouses, benches, raised plots. We have the special needs people who are out visiting our garden on a daily basis. They're from places like Goodwill, United Cerebral Palsy, Salvation Army, and many, many other groups. Some of them are out there in wheelchairs, and we have wheelchair height plots that have been built by the Eagle Scouts so that these people with special needs can still come out and garden and get the fresh air and do what they can. Even if they're just sitting there, they're enjoying fresh air, and it's better than sitting inside in a different type of program. So they seem to be very happy to be out there, and of course, when I see a smile from one of them, it makes all the hassles worthwhile.
Can I ask a question, Paul, real quick?
Sure, of course.
How are your plots assigned to various people and their responsibilities? And if they are the responsibilities tied to that, and how does that work?
Yes, and yeah, thank you for asking. That's absolutely another thing that has had to evolve. As you're working with that many people, that and everybody's a volunteer. Nobody is paid. I'm certainly not paid. And as I tell them, I don't even garden there. I have 4 acres here in Valley Center, so we have plenty to do here. But so we need to have these jobs done. So what they do is they make a commitment. We have paperwork that they sign when they come out. We have a waiting list. We always have a waiting list. And when they get called, when there's a plot available, they come out, they meet with me, we do an introduction, and things are explained to them at that time. They are responsible for their plot, keeping things in the plot and not overgrown into the pathways, and they are responsible for the pathway around it. About 3-4 times a year, we'll have a cleanup out there that is mandatory, and we make it as fun as possible. They come out, they're going to do it in a couple of weeks. They come out about 8 o'clock in the morning. I have breakfast stuff out there, but what we do is we don't work in our plot, but we work for the good of the whole garden. Trimming, mulching, weeding, planting if it needs to be done, beautifying the garden so that we can keep it looking as pleasant as possible for the city of Escondido. And they drive by there all the time because the police and fire department is right next door. So, we know that we need to keep it looking good, and that's one of the ways we can do it. So we bring some food out, and I usually have a raffle of some things I've picked up that have to do with gardening, and it keeps the gardeners pretty happy. They're out there for about 2.5 hours, and you can get a lot done with that many hands, cleaning and caring for the place, other than their own plot.
Beth, this is Mike, and I wanted to ask you about the water availability. Is there like one spigot for every 4 plots or something like that? How do the plot managers get water to their?
That's exactly it. There's one spigot for 4 plots. We use a hose there, and they share that. It's never a problem. Usually there's not 2 people in the same area that are out there at the same time. There's been a lot of discussion, whether we should be watering a different way, having it so that one person could turn it on for the whole garden. I have felt strongly that this was not a good idea, that the drip system maybe it would be good for the plants, possibly, although we have a lot of gardeners from a lot of different areas of the world, and they all garden a little differently, and they water differently, so I don't even think it would work anyway. But I like the idea of having those gardeners have to come out and have to water. It would be, they would be out there that much less if they knew, the water was being turned on for them. So that's what we do. We have one hose for the 4 plots. And we are very lucky, and we are very appreciative of the city of Escondido. Once again, they pay the water bill. And last year, when the drought was so bad, they decided to take a look at everything. They looked at our bill. They looked at how we are watering, and we made a few little changes. We made sure that the gardeners knew they could only water 2 times a week, that they needed to water deeply. We showed them how to water, instead of, just way up on top, but right down at dirt level, watering deeply, and choosing, and them telling us 2 days a week that they would do that. And it's worked out. The city's been fine so far with it, and they explained if we went too high that we would be asked to, pay the extra cost.
Yeah, that's a good solution. The reason I was asking is I'm working with Tijuana River Valley Community Garden, and they're looking at possibly using drip system, but not making it automatic for all the plots, but yet allowing one of the plot. If I'm working a plot, then I could just connect my hose and turn it on, and then it would drip all of the plants in that plot. I've got another quick question for you. Do you tend to see when the planting is done in the plot that they take up most of the plot area with different plantings, or do they kind of approach it, maybe use half of the plot and then grow into it over time?
It really varies. I haven't mentioned this yet, but we have 7 languages spoken out at our garden.
Wow.
We have a lot of different cultures, and with those many different cultures come a lot of different ways of gardening. We have a large group of Chinese, elderly Chinese, who happen to live nearby. They do not drive, but it's close enough that they can walk over. And their techniques of gardening are way different than anything we've seen in the vegetables that they grow. But I have people from Korea. I have several Russian families out there. It goes on. And with that come a lot of variety in, how they grow things, what they grow, and how they grow it. And one of the best things about being out there is watching them interact. Seeing one gentleman from Russia talking to the man from China and sharing seeds or discussing what vegetables, or sharing the vegetables after they've been grown. So, with that many languages and cultures come that many different ways to garden.
Boy, what a great way to get this cross-pollination of gardening knowledge and just facilitating communication amongst diverse groups. I think that's got to be one of the benefits.
If the whole world can work like that, would be nice.
We're a little microcosm of the world, and with it come the problems and the benefits of all of that. And I have learned an awful lot about how to deal with all of that. But it's way more positive than negative.
That's good. And have you, in all these years, ever run into any type of vandalism problems? Because I know that was one of the concerns there at the.
Yeah, we have. You know what though? We have another garden that's going in behind a church here in Escondido, and the man called me to ask me about the watering and how we did it, and he's worried because he's so isolated that there's going to be vandalism.
Yeah.
Well, we're right out in the middle of God and everybody, because we have Center City Parkway, we have the freeway, we have the apartments over there. And yes, we do. Is it major? I'm going to knock on wood as I say this. No.
That's
we have
good.
some theft, that type of thing. They climb over the fence. But I think, as someone said to me long ago, Beth, it's like, kids in a watermelon patch type of thing.
Yeah.
The same kind of thing. It's fun. A lot of times it is just kids being kids.
Yeah.
And if it's something other than that, and somebody's stealing because they need the food, a lot of our gardeners say, you know what? If that's why they're doing it, let them have it.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. Great attitude.
Yeah, it is. It is. Granted, it's frustrating. And so if I see somebody with a big, beautiful cantaloupe that's ripe, or a big orange pumpkin out there, or watermelon, and they still haven't picked it, sometimes I'll actually just call and say, would you please harvest?
It's too much temptation.
Does.
Yeah. Too much
and
temptation.
I have to hear about it. Take it.
You could have a pumpkin carving test or a contest.
Beth, you've kind of touched on some of the benefits to the gardeners in the community in the city. Anything else you'd like to add? I mean, obviously there's benefits. You've been in existence for 25 years. Teachers bring their kids on field trips to the community garden, for goodness sake. So what are some other things that you think are some positive things that, for folks that are listening tonight, may encourage them to go out and participate, or even start their own community garden?
I just think, getting to know people, and the more it reflects the community you live in, and it takes a while. It's taken years for us to really get to that point that I wanted to happen so quickly, and it didn't. It takes time to build that. But once you really have all that variety, whether it be the cultures or the ages. We have seniors. We have a gentleman out here who's almost 90, and we have young kids out there. Whether, it's the languages, it's the people in the wheelchairs talking to the other people, the Eagle Scouts building a project out there. That's the best, I think. Once a year, we have a potluck out there, and it's a time when we will do some grilling, some barbecuing, but people bring food, and we encourage them to bring something that maybe they grew initially in their garden. And, with different cultures come all these different types of foods. And last year it was terrific. They proudly stood up and explained their dish with, all these different cultures out there doing that. And it just, to see them beaming and explaining what they had made and then watching everybody try it, that's what makes it all worthwhile.
That's a great picture that you just described of community and sharing disparate recipes and different cultures. That really is very, very encouraging.
Well, with that comes the understanding of what the world we're living in. I think
yes.
You can just get to know a few people that are different than we are, who live a different type of life, and it's fun.
And who may not be able to communicate because of the language barrier, whatever that might be.
Hey, so within just the last few minutes of our discussion, since you've been a kindergarten teacher and I've got a grandson that he just went into TK, and they never had TK when I was growing up, so I just want to get your quick assessment of what you think of the TK program.
Well, they started that. I heard about it. They started after I left. If a child isn't totally ready, or they're a little bit too young, and you can put them in a program like that that's just prepping them for it, no one's going to lose on that. They're going to have a great time. Those TK programs are usually at the school where they're going to be doing their regular kindergarten program as well. So I think it can't be anything but beneficial to the child.
Well, maybe I'll coordinate with the teacher and offer to do a little guided tour of our community garden there where we live. So.
You should, absolutely. It's really fun to see those kids out there, and they learn about the history of some of the plants because we do have that herb garden out there. They plant a plant, we read a story, they wander around, they're out in the fresh air, and so whether it's a classroom or Girl Scouts, anyone is welcome.
Wow.
Give me a call and we'll set it up.
So with all the vegetation that's grown, is it just for the people who have the specific plots and they do it with what they do
Right.
with they want to do, or is it sold? Is it?
If it's sold, I don't know about it. I don't have rules about that. But like I said at the beginning, we're pretty much a pure community garden. So I think for the most part, the Chinese are growing these big melons. That's what I was thinking about. They are cooking that up, they're freezing it, and they're keeping it for the winter. I think most people are growing it for themselves. People come out to a community garden for a lot of different reasons. Some are out there for the exercise. Some of them are out there for kind of the emotional benefits you get from the peace and the beauty of being out there. And some of them are out there literally to grow the food that they're going to put on their table tonight because they don't have a lot of money. And I have a few of those out there. And it's just wonderful to see, what they can grow and trading with each other a little bit and that type of thing.
Well, to see them invest time and effort to grow their food, I think it's rewarding for them, but it's got to give you satisfaction to have created an environment where that can happen. I just salute you for doing what you have done for the last 20 plus years. It's quite amazing.
Thank you. Believe me, I wouldn't do it if that weren't the reason. I mean, that makes it all worthwhile.
She does an excellent job, fellas. She really does, and puts a lot of effort and a lot of time into the community garden, and is just beloved by all that are there. So, thank you for all your effort. Any closing thoughts as we wrap up?
No, we're just going to keep on going as long as we can on it. We're trying to improve our palapa that we have out there right now, and get some new thatching on that, and we're just going to keep going and evolving, and I hope getting better and better. And if someone's out there thinking about starting a community garden, I'd be happy to talk to them, but I'd recommend it.
How can they reach you
It's
real
worth
quick?
it.
How can they reach you?
760-580-4390.
Excellent. Well, thanks for joining us on the Water Zone. We really appreciate it today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And Paul, thanks for great guests. Paul, we really appreciate that, and Mike as well. So everybody have a great week, and remember the most important thing to do is
grow a community garden.
Well, that and think blue. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks, Beth.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM. A superior nutritional